experience.
Hola amigos and welcome along to round 5 of PSGL Formula Experience, and we are here in Sao Paulo at the Autodromo Carlos Pace for the best race we are likely to see so far this season, because all the chips are on the table now, ladies and gentlemen. There will be no second opportunities for much of the field as they seek to win this second PSGL Formula Experience Championship. Interlagos has seen many title deciders. Who can forget Lewis Hamilton's last gasp denial of Felipe Massa in 2008, and Sebastian Vettel spinning on the first lap but storming back to the podium to deny Fernando Alonso. And of course in 1991, Ayrton Senna finally won his home events with only sixth gear available on his broken McLaren, having to be removed from the car because he was so exhausted. This 4.3 kilometer circuit has many iconic corners, and we have two DRS zones. The longest flat out section, of course, in sector 3 we'll see the majority of the overtaking, but then a good exit out of the center S's will lead to more attacks down to turn 4 along the Retro Aposta. The slow technical sector 2, well, you may see some side-by-side actions and a few dive bombs there, but we shall see. Your usual 18-minute qualifying session, followed by 36 laps, and the race is around 153 kilometers and nearly 1,400 meters, the longest flat-out section for the aforementioned Sector 3. And in terms of the tyre compounds, it is your usual selection of dry compounds. 0.5 second gap between the mediums and the softs, and it's around a second a lap slower between the softs and the hards. In terms of the tyre strategy, we will be seeing mainly a one-stop, but we'll discuss that in more detail shortly. Now let's have a look at the allocations as we see Ayrton Senna's splendid McLaren hurtling through Interlagos, just as it was in years gone by. HG and Giofin maintain the Mercedes. Mr. Grumpy moves into the Ferrari alongside Cablo. AMS has a big opportunity in the Red Bull alongside Free Gloves. Jamie and British Grand Prix winner earlier in the season Hulkenberger in the Racing Point. Blue Mosquito, winner in brilliant fashion of Belgium in the Red Bull last week, moves into the McLaren alongside Josh. Iran, returning after his one race ban has been served, alongside Jolly Manu in the Haas. Game Freak and Flying Throne in the Renault. Big C and Guarini in the Alfa Romeo. Expect to see strong showings from them. Ash Bess and Maxi Luca in the soon-to-be AlphaTauri, and QPR Beast and Paudi, the current top two in the championship, in the Williams this week, will be hoping to steal any point they can to keep themselves in the fight for the final round at Suzuka next week. I am Mark of It's Alamonda, bringing you all the action once again. And we are already underway with qualifying, but we're going to just have a few more shots of this magnificent McLaren. Those early 90s and late 80s McLarens, they were something else. The white and red iconic colour scheme. The likes we may see that one day again on the McLaren, but I think the orange is a good fit for McLaren at the moment. But let's get underway then with the qualifying session here at Interlagos. A few drivers out on track at the moment. So let's have a look at Free Gloves. He's on a lap, so we can go a nice little hot lap with him. Heavy braking zone then into the opening corner through the center S's, so named after Brazil's most famous racing driver. Brazil have had lots of pretty good racing drivers over the years. Not so much these days, not many Brazilians getting Formula 1. So here we go, Free Gloves heading down to the end of Retro Aposta. Another area where we'll see quite a lot of side-by-side action. Expect to see a few people forced off onto the outside off the tarmac at some stage. Now Free Gloves certainly one of the favourites. The Red Bull, a very good car at this track, particularly in Sector 2. Its superior downforce to most of the field makes it a particularly strong package. So we'll get all the old timings and all the maps up. Most of the field out on track at the moment. We'll go through the championship standings as usual through the formation lap. So let's just briefly, QPR Beast is leading the championship by 2 points from Paudi, and they are both in the same car today. But it's a very tight championship. It's very unlikely it will be settled today. I think it will be settled at Japan next week. So let's see what Free Gloves can do. In terms of the pole time, we will maybe be looking at a mid 1 minute 8 for the fastest car, but for the time being they are fitting some of them the medium tyres to get a feel of the track. A few drivers have gone out on the Justin Capello sitting a 1:09.322 in the Ferrari, so that's a reasonable time for the banker laps so far. HDE alongside him. I mean, it's not been a particularly good Formula experience for HDE, but hopefully in the Mercedes he can pull out something out of the bag and get something points on the board. Let's have a look at Flying Chrome. It goes through Yunsao. That's big squirm of the Renault as he powers up the hill. Heading then towards the line. What's it going to be for flying foam in the Renault? Which that's not a bad time at all. 109.555. The Renault slightly underpowered for a track like this. 50% of the lap taken a full throttle. So with the Renault probably being the weakest power unit on F1 2019, they do suffer slightly sometimes on the long straights. So let's have a look at Joliana Manu. Joliana Manu is in sector 1 at the moment. Is anyone else about to finish lap? Looks like AMS possibly might be finishing another lap. No, he's coming back into the pits. What about the other? No, Jamie's coming back into the pits, and I think this McLaren. Oh no, looks like. Yep, here comes Josh, and he crosses the line in 4th place. So 109.3. It's a pretty tight field spread so far. Less than half a second covering the top 8 at the moment. Qualifying sessions do tend to be extremely tight here at Interlagos, no matter what league you're in. So I think we're going to see a similar story here today. Mr. Grumpy is on an outlet. Now Mr. Grumpy, he won superbly at Canada. Oh, wait, was it Canada? I'll have to check that. I think, was it Canada? No, that was Big C. Big C won at Canada. It was Germany. Yes, Germany, of course. Round 3, that's where Mr. Grumpy won, and he's back in the Ferrari, having spent a race out of it last time out. And, you know, he could be definitely one to look out for the race win, because if he can win here today, it will put him with an outside shot winning the championship at Japan next week, which could come down to a single point given how tight the field has been. We'll carry on with Mr. Grumpy through the mid-section of the lap. Which, I don't know, Brazil in general, it's always been one of my favourite tracks to drive on. It's a very simple track. It's a pretty quick blast around the circuit here. You know, it's less than 4.5 kilometres, around just over 2.5 miles to get around a lap of Interlagos in an F1 car. So, you know the laps here are sub 70 seconds when you're at your top pace in these 2019 machines. And dare I say, they may go faster if we end up racing here in the shortened F1 2020 season, which kicks off 3 weeks today. Anyone else excited about that? I am. I can't wait to see the F1 season start again. And I think Austria is a really good choice, as Mr. Grumpy becomes the first driver to dip into the high 1 minute 8s. And as we say, mid 1 minute 8s expected at least for pole position. I think anyone going faster than that, it will be an absolute blistering lap. Looks like Greeny LSC is on an outlap, and he's in the Alfa Romeo. I mean, Greeny's had good results. He's been in the Williams most of the time in terms of, you know, the laps and the races, and he's done a pretty good job. And we saw some really good overtakes from the races I've covered. A big thank you to Aaron and Jake Warrior, of course, for covering all the action last week. Aaron serving his community service after his dreadful behaviour at Germany. I mean, my God, that was absolutely disgusting what he was doing there, that driving he did. But I'm not one to throw people under buses, and he did a superb job as ever on commentary. But he'll be keen to do his talking this week on the track, and he's currently in P9, just over half a second off the pace, just ahead of Flying Foam, fellow veteran, as Greeny LFC continues on. About half the field in the pit lane at the moment, and they seem to be fitting now the super softs. Some drivers are still getting a little taster, including Jamie, a former PSGL F1 champion, of course. He's currently in a low P15, but of course that's not representative of true pace, you would think. The centre S is, of course, very easy to invalidate there, so expect to see a few drivers bottling their final runs as the Green FC crosses the line, and it's pole, a 1 minute 8.810. And the Alfa Romeo, I mean, it's got a powerful unit. The Alfa Romeo is a superb car in this sort of performance structure, and he's proven it. That's a blistering lap time from Greeny. We still have over 10 minutes of the session to go. So Greeny FC laying a marker down, perhaps looking to get into the hunt for the championship here. And why not? It would be a superb thing to see. Let's see, anyone else? Big C in the other Alfa Romeo has done a 1 minute 9, and he's carrying on. And this is his second run, I believe. So the Alfa Romeo is looking strong. Possible dark horses here. So the great thing about this championship so far, we've had 4 different winners. You know, we had Hulkenberger won at Britain in great style. Big C rolled back the years of Canada to win there, and then Mr. Grumpy won at Germany. Then last week, Blue Mosquito, including the fast lap point, won at Belgium. And we've had loads of different drivers on the podium as well. You know, you look down the field, and actually only QPR Beast is the only driver from those who have started all 4 races to be on the podium in at least 2 of the 4 races so far, and that is one of the reasons why he is at the top of the standings. We'll go through the full standings as ever during the formation lap. So Capello is out there at the moment on the lap, and he's just under a tenth above. And some team radio from Ferrari, and it looks like Dale, aka Mr. Grumpy, has beaten his Formula performance time, first time of asking, so he must be delighted with that, and if he can find a bit more pace out of the car. Now, you might be noticing that Ash Best, although he was mentioned on the allocations, is not racing here tonight. Unfortunately, during practice he suffered a severe failure on his car. The steering column collapsed completely under him, and it sent him into the wall. He's perfectly fine though. Doctors checked him out in the local medical facility, but he has got the flight, and he should be back for the Japanese race next week, so he will have a little bit of a week off, and maybe he'll have to isolate himself in Tokyo before the next race as Cablo moves up to P4. So his replacement tonight is none other than Maxi Luca, a former PSGL F1 race winner, and he's currently in P15. So I mean, looking at the times so far, I wouldn't say that's an indication at the moment of a wet race. But here comes QPR Beast then in the Williams, his nearest championship rival just ahead of him. And QPR Beast goes a very excellent P9, only half a second off the current pole sitting time by Greeny LFC. So that's a very good effort from him. And AMS is about to cross the line and goes P2. Oh, and just off the pace of Greeny's time. But the Red Bulls on their second runs not able yet to dethrone the Alfa Romeo. That just shows how impressive Greeny's time was. So now a Renault coming in. I think that's Game Freaker. Game Freaker crosses the line, invalidated his first run. Now he's improved. He's now just over half a second. But look how tight that is. Less than a second covering the top 16. This may be the tightest qualifying session we have seen so far for Formula experience this particular time. Now there's a little bit of a lull at the moment because some drivers going on their out laps. So we'll go on board with Jolie Anamanu, who's in sector 2. Oh no, yeah, just begun sector 2. So we'll follow him for a few corners. So there's some really good events coming up on PSGL. We got the Esports Cup carrying on tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock. You can join Owen Wyatt and the rest of the commentary team for that particular one. It's been a pretty fantastic series so far, I have to say, from what I've watched. And then, of course, after this, which will likely be the final action of F1 2019 here on PSGL, the Race of Champions. Not sure what the criteria is, but it was revealed earlier on PSGL Twitter that the winner of Formula Experience will get a guaranteed slot in the Race of Champions, and I think that's well deserved. I think you need a bit of experience in there among the young heads, otherwise it could be a calamitous first corner crash. But we could see one of those here anyway. You never know what they've been drinking before the race. So as Jolie Anamanu moves up to P7, I thought he was going to head into the wall there, but he didn't, luckily. Who else? Powdy currently in P18. I think he's on a flying lap. So let's have a look at Powdy for the time being. We'll see how he's handling the Williams as he hurtles up the Retro Poster at well over 200 miles an hour if we brake. Although it is strange really, because it's for such a fast corner, it's actually quite a fast braking zone. As Free Gloves goes ever so slightly, 006, Alex Trevelyan quicker than Greeny, so he's currently in the prime seat. But the Red Bull, as I mentioned earlier on, it's a mighty car around here. I don't have the straight line speed of the Ferrari or the Mercedes, but in terms of aerodynamics, it is beautifully set up for this track. And if a driver gets underneath it, as we saw with Max Verstappen in real life, it's a very hard car to beat in terms of an equal field. So we'll carry on with Powdy. There are a couple of cars ahead. It looks like Jamie. Or is that Hulkenberger? Let's see. Looks like it might be Jamie. Jamie's still P16, but here comes Powdy. What can he do compared to QPR Beast? Well, actually, he's significantly off. In fact, he's nearly half a second off QPR Beast. So QPR Beast seems to have a little bit more pace here at Brazil at the moment. So that's interesting. Let's have a look at Josh. No, that's not Josh. So Blue Mosquito, is he coming back into the pits? It looks like he might be. I think, yeah, it looks like Free Gloves would be as well. So Josh is actually on a flying lap, just over 4.5 minutes. of the session to go. Got a question in the chat from Fish. Favorite era of cars or best memory of Interlagos? Well, I had a debate about the best era of F1 cars. I mean, I've been watching Formula 1 since '94. Unfortunately, the very first few races I watched were the first and last races I saw Senna in person, which is, you know, obviously absolutely devastating. And for me personally, it was the first childhood experience where I kind of understood the notion of death, when Murray Walker announced Senna. Because, you know, you watch these drivers and you think they're immortal because they just do superhuman things in these machinery. But I digress. But in terms of my favourite era, I mean, I love the mid-90s cars. I just think they look great. They sound great. And because there were so many different engine suppliers back then, the actual sort of, I guess you could say, the orchestra sound for the cars back then was really, really nice. You had loads of different engine noises and stuff like that. But if I had to pick an actual favourite era, I would say the V8 era. I think the racing, the V8 era is great. I think the V8s, I preferred the V8s to the kind of screaming V10s which preceded them. I mean, as much as the F2004 Ferrari and the BMW Williams, how they sounded great, but the racing wasn't that good back then. It kind of picked up. I mean, 2003 had some really good races, but overall, a lot of the racing in Schumacher's dominance, the V10 era, it wasn't particularly good, barring a few notable examples, of course. But the V8 era had loads of good races and loads of extremely close championship seasons. I mean, you know, Interlagos became a place where many titles were decided. You know, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. And then 2012 as well. I mean, multiple times, and all the races were great. And 2012, of course, is arguably the best F1 season ever. There were so many good races. I mean, even Valencia had a good race. Valencia, of all places. So yeah, V8 would be my favourite. Here comes AMS then, heading for the line. Just over 2 minutes of session to go. Can he get into the pole position slot? He cannot. He must invalidate it, so I think he must be going again. So we'll keep an eye on him. There's other drivers out on track. Cablo is on a lap as well, and he is invalidated, unfortunately, so we will head away from him. The two Renaults are on an out lap, so we will keep an eye on them as well. So Mr. Grumpy's on a flying lap. He's needs to find 2.5 tenths to get into the pole slot position. And, well, a win would be very timely for Mr. Grumpy. If he can get his second win, that would be very good news for him. Just got a tweet. Just going to retweet that. So Mr. Grumpy then, heading for the line in this Scarlet Ferrari. The Scuderia, the hopes and prayers lying on his shoulders. And it is pole. And we're heading towards the mid. 1 minute 8 now. And it's a 6:18, just over a tenth ahead of Josh. Okay, free clubs. I may be mixing up the Joshes at this point, so I do apologise. So we're on board free gloves at the moment. He's on an outlet. AMS is starting another flying lap. I wonder, they're doing multiple laps. Is that an indication it's a wet race? It's not something you'd normally see. But we will find out shortly what the conditions are. I would say if AMS is doing multiple runs with the fuel he's got, I think that's an indication we may be getting some wet running. So Greeny LFC then, he's on a flying lap, and it looks like he's been warming up his tyres because he's going again. So who's behind him? That is Julian Manu on an out lap. Aaron just behind him. Aaron is on a lap as well. The two Mercedes are going to try and finish lap. That's an invalidation. Duo Finn on the mediums, interestingly. All their best times in the top 15 have been on the super softs. The softs, I should say. So used to the old tyres being, the red tyres being the super softs, not that long ago. So let's have a look then at AMS. AMS is heading towards the line. What's AMS? Can AMS dethrone Mr. Grumpy? No, he has invalidated again. So that's the end of his qualifying session. And any move, Powdy's moved up to 17th. The racing points are finishing now. Jamie in 9th, and Hulkenberg to row 5 goes to that. But here comes free gloves. Is he going to come into the pits? No, he is on a run. He takes as much fight out the track as he can, and he's not good enough. He does close the gap. He doesn't take pole position away. So Big C is coming up the hill, and I think he's following the Renault. He's going to get a nice slipstream off the Renault ahead if he can get close enough. So that is the Renault of that's Game Freak, I believe. Yeah, it is Game Freak. He's getting a nice toe, Big C. That puts him up to 4th. And what about QPR Beast? No, QPR Beast is finished, so he's done. And what about... Here comes Josh, and it's P10 for Josh. So that means Mr. Grumpy, the German race winner of this particular Formula Experience season, has in fact taken the pole position. We'll go through the full grid momentarily, but Mr. Grumpy has really stamped his authority on this session. So it is a Ferrari and Red Bull front row, and it's less than half a tenth between the top two, so a very close session. Just behind them, very impressive showing from Greeny, LFC and Big C in the Alfa Romeos to take the lockout row 2. AMS in P5, he probably would have hoped for a couple more places than that. Jolly Anamanu in P6, a good showing in the house actually for the reigning champion. Cablo in P7, Iran in P8, HD and Josh in row 5, and then the 2 racing points in row 6, and QPR Beast, the championship leader, in 13th, 14th for Game Freak, and Maxi Luke in 15th, and then the rest of the grid as you can see. So we are of course heading towards the very end of this particular F1 2019 era. So F1 2020, there will be announcements, in a not too distant future about the next season of PSGL. So keep an eye out on the official Twitter account for all that. So it looks, I'm just trying to see if this is wet conditions. So let's head back to the grid in a few moments. I'm just making sure there's nothing on that shouldn't be in terms of the stream. And we'll have a look at the championship standings, of course. So yeah, it looks like everyone is now selecting their tyre choice. It looks like it could be. It looks, I'm not sure, there's no rain actually falling, so I'm not really sure what the situation is with that. There may be race 8, but it does look very gloomy. Interlagos, very infamous for its sudden showers, as we've seen many times at this track over the years. So we're going to get the formation lap going here. As Mr. Grumpy leads and waits. So let's take a look at the championship standings after 4 rounds of this particular championship. So QPR Beasts leads by 4 points from Paudi, and they're both outside the top 10 for this race at the moment. Big C not too far behind, 6-1 behind. Blue Mosquito on 4th, Olkenberger in 5th. Iran really hurt by that race ban. That has made it less likely that he can win the championship. Flying Frame 7th, Mr. Grumpy in 8th. His only points was a victory at Germany, so that could be an omen for what we're about to see. And then Josh in 9th, Greeny in 10th, had a podium at Germany, and in the Alfa Romeo he could be a real favourite for a podium here today. Game Freak in 11th, Jamie in 12th, Ash Bess in 13th, Jolie Anamanu in 14th, who mathematically, barring an absolute miracle, will not be retaining his championship, but he'll be hoping for a good result here today. CC Brain is a reserve, and well, not really worth covering the rest of them at the moment because none of those guys can win the championship realistically. So let's get the standings down. Don't want to miss the start because of that. So Mr. Grumpy, he's been in pole position, many different tiers, top tier a lifetime ago. Let's see what tyres have been picked. So it looks like a dry start at least. Quite a heavy selection of mediums outside the top 10. Hulk, the 2 racing points going for the same strategy. QPR Beast on the mediums as well. So it'll be really important for the racing points to try and gain some places, because the racing points aren't too bad at this track. But I think the Alfa Romeo is probably I would say comfortably the best midfield car at this track. It's just so strong here. As Mr. Grumpy leads the pack to the grid. So let's look forward to this then. 36 laps here at Interlagos, and it's always a very unusual start. Half the grid starts uphill, the other half downhill. It's a very unusual grid here. It's almost a gladiatorial thing. It'd be an amazing place to visit an F1 race. I'd love to go there one day because the atmosphere is always supposed to be pretty special. So let's get ready then for the 5 red lights. Grumpy with 3 gloves alongside him. Let's get ready for these 5 red lights. Not seen the 5 red lights just yet. Well, they never appeared on the screen, but here we go. Mr. Grumpy gets a decent start, but look out for the Alfa Romeo just behind it. It's not been a good start for Free Gloves. So the Alfa Romeo, and I think that's Greeny, I believe, going around the other side. Yes, it is. Greeny up to P2. A sensational start from the Alfa Romeo. Grumpy gets away. Anything going on behind? We will get a good view of any contact behind as they head up the Retro Aposta for the first time. Big C maintains 4th position. Cablo having a little look at AMS just behind. Johnny Anamu's made a decent start up to P5. Oh, AMS, I think it's got out of shape coming out of turn 4, and now Cablo's alongside him. They go side by side. Ferragulo. Oh, Cablo's made contact. Oh, he's made contact with the Mercedes of HDE. Oh dear, that's terrible. You see carbon fibre flying everywhere. So Cablo heading to the back already, so that's dreadful. So Cablo is going to have, I'm not sure if he got damaged. Someone definitely got damaged. I saw some end plates. I think one of the Racing Points must have made contact, because I think it looked like a Racing Point wing. It may have been Jamie, actually. Let's just have a quick look at Jamie. Has he got damage? Yeah, it looks like Jamie's got damage. Yeah, I definitely saw a BWT sponsorship on the wing when it broke. So that is bad luck for the former PSGL F1 champion. But let's look at the top 3. They're chasing Mr. Grumpy. And here we go. He has settled down, Free Gloves, after his poor start. And now he's going to have maybe a little look at Greeny, but not for the time being. It looks like we got 2 drivers in the pits. Oh, Hulkenberg is in the pits as well. So it's a double stack for Racing Point. That is absolutely terrible bad luck for them. And we'll just keep an eye on this battle just for a few brief more moments. And yeah, look at that double stack. The double stack, it's the worst thing that can happen in a league race like this, especially when you're the second car and the first drive in front's having a wing change. And they're going to be, well, it's such a short lap here, they're going to be almost lapped by the time they get out. But, you know, there's a long way to go. Safety cars are very common here at Interlagos, so don't be surprised to see something like that. So at the moment, Mr. Grumpy keeping a steady, just over half second advantage to Greeny. DRS will be activated at the start of lap 3, which is not too far away. You know, it's a best part of 70 seconds a lap here. A little bit more than that with the race fuel, of course, because that slows you down. Each kilo of fuel adds a few tenths per lap. By the end, they'll be absolutely rapid, particularly those on the alternate strategy. Here comes Free Gloves. I think he's going to think about a move, because the Ferrari head of Mr. Grumpy is getting slightly ahead. But, you know, Greeny's still maintaining that DRS. That's pretty good, and a slight puff of white smoke as Greeny just tries to get that car slowed down. Slightly twitchy on the exit. That might give Free Gloves a chance to launch an attack here. But again, Greeny with the DRS will be able to defend a little bit better. Maxi Luca is dropping back from the top 10. And actually, QPR Beast, the championship leader, he has managed to get into the top 10. So he's had a reasonable start. So in terms of the winners and losers so far, 5 places gained for Paudi, 3 gained for QPR Beast, 4 gained for Maxi Luca, and the big loser, definitely Cablo. He's lost 10. Jamie's lost 8. So it's been a bad start for those driving in the Racing Points. And there's a long way to go. But the good news for Cablo is he didn't get any damage. He's now got back onto the rear of the field, so he at least has a chance as it stands to make his way through the pack and maybe get some points later on using the superior performance of that Ferrari. As for Hulkenberg, Game Freak and Jamie, well, I mean, they've lost so much time. It's going to take them a while. They will need a safety car to get back into it, you would believe. Jolly Anamu in a solid P5 at the moment. AMS actually being dropped by Jolly Anamu. He's now out of DRS range, so I'm sure if AMS picks up some damage, or he just doesn't have the race pace at the moment. But he asked for the opportunity in a top car. He's got it. He's not making the best use of it at the moment. And it's looking quite a sort of static train at the moment. Let's just have a look down the order. Just want to have a look at Paudi, because Paudi's looking quite close to that Toro Rosso of Maxi Luca. Can he close in and make a move? Williams, despite its aerodynamic issues, does have a very good straight-line speed as ever with the Mercedes power unit. Ugi Azim, a grizzled veteran, former veteran of PSGL F1, trying to fend off Cablo. Runs slightly wide, but that's, Cablo's nowhere near to make any sort of overtake. But let's head back to the top 3. Greeny LFC maintaining his P2 for the time being, and his race pace is all there to see, because Grumpy, despite having the Ferrari, which in effect is, the Alfa Romeo has some of the same parts as the Ferrari, but Greeny is using the Alfa Romeo to stay in touch. And if Greeny can't break away, then eventually Greeny FC may be able to make a move on him. There's a few mini trains now forming. There's a bit of a field spread in the top 10. Then we have Maxi Luca fending off, and Duo Finn has spun. Well, that is a familiar sight for Duo Finsman. We're not going to check him out, but Duo Fin spinning to the back. So we may have some company shortly in the form of Hulkenberger in the Racing Point. Regloves trying to think about having a look, but for the time being, not putting up into maximum attack as you saw on the onboard display. So the top four, Mr. Grumpy, Greeny, Free Gloves and Big C, they are beginning to break away from Jolyon Avenue in the Haas. AMS has now got back within DRS range of Jolyon Avenue, so may see a nice battle. HDE having a nice run so far. He's got Irin just behind him, who will be hoping to be on his best behaviour today after his shenanigans at Hockenheim. And then Josh in the McLaren in ninth. And QBRB's kind of in no man's land at the moment. He's comfortably quicker than Maxi Lucanpaldi behind him, but he's obviously not got the car underneath him at the moment to challenge Josh. But you know, he would not mind a point at this stage. I think he would bite your hand off for a point in that particular Williams, which is one of the worst performance cars ever seen in a Formula 1 game. No doubt about that. So Josh having maybe a think about a look again, but no, he's got the car powered down. But let's look behind, because Irin is having maybe half a look. There is definitely some battling going on here. But no, for the time being, they do settle into that rhythm. And Cablo's actually got ahead of Ugi's in, so Cablo's regained a position. So that's good news for him. Let's have a look at Irin. Irin now having a look, and look at that, AMS has made the pass on Jolyon Manu. Up to P5 he goes, and now he'll give chase to the top four. With that car underneath him, if he can just get some consistent lap times in, he should be able to get onto the back of that top four and get himself into the fight for the race victory here. Yes, Lickle mentioned the DRS not opening. I did notice that. I'm wondering if he's got maybe an early failure, but we'll check that next lap round. So Free Gloves, saw Free Gloves says run wide. I did mean the Red Bull, of course. So Greeny now dropping a little bit further back, and this is definitely an opportunity for the Red Bull attack. Greeny covers to the left, so that's going to force Free Gloves to go around the outside, and that's well covered off actually. You know, very standard but fair defending from Greeny LFC to prevent. Then he'll shift to the left to cover the inside here. Is there going to be an attempt at an attack? He's got it in full power, not able to make a move there. So as you were at the moment, we're going to have a quick look at Flying Foam, because Flying Foam now putting Powdy under pressure, and he's on the mediums. The soft tyres will be starting to lose their best performance at this stage, although they won't be in a position to pit just yet. A few more laps yet before the softs pit. Tyre wear, not particularly an issue here. Oh no, I thought AMS had made a mistake at the moment, but no, the gap was the same as it was. For some reason it looked like he was going off the track in terms of the track map. And yes, we will have a check to see. There's been no indication of team radio issues on the DRS, but we'll definitely have a look. But there is... He's definitely had the speed to get onto the back of Greeny FC for some reason. Oh, they're side by side now. Greeny FC, they're going to go side by side. Can he... Oh, contact! Bit of wheel banging on the rear. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, we can see Free Gloves definitely has DRS, so if there was a problem... But I don't think there was. Maybe just chose not to use it at that stage. And meanwhile, behind, Irin challenging for P7. Any other moves going on there? No, not for the time being. So Free Gloves has overtaken the Alfa Romeo, and now all three of them are going to give chase to Mr. Grumpy. They're all on DRS. So Mr. Grumpy, because he was not able to get out of DRS of the Alfa Romeo and build a gap, he's now going to be under attack from the Red Bull Free Gloves very, very shortly. Now Cablo is now making his way up the field. He's past Ugi Azim. He's now past the McLaren of Blue Mosquito, last week's race winner, who's, yeah, it's not particularly, it's just kind of in no man's land at the moment. He hasn't really, well off the pace. I don't know if he's made a mistake somewhere. Because obviously Cablo's been on lap 1, and now he's been overtaken by Cablo. So, yeah, not a particularly good race so far. It's been pretty clean so far. We've seen a few spins, but there's been no, you know, I mean, there was almost an enormous accident there when Free Gloves and Greeny made a bit of contact. And look at that. Free Gloves already nearly got it a second over Greeny, so he's definitely getting a move on. Let's have a look at Free Gloves. He's closing in on them. He's going to try and a little bit closer. He sets the fast lap of the race. So that tells you all you need to know about the current mindset of the Red Bull driver. He's on attack mode here. He is heading for that Ferrari, and he wants to get ahead of it. And we mentioned earlier on that the Red Bull is a very good car around here. as it was in real life, and he is proving that at the moment because he's now challenging that Ferrari directly. So Maxi Lucas still ahead of the Williams of Powdy flying through. Probably getting a little bit frustrated. He can't sort of get ahead of either of those cars. Let's have a look at Powdy. No, Powdy not able to get a move done for the time being. So it looks like Hulkenberger, way down in P18, is now closing in on the Mercedes of Juho Finn. Unless, of course, Juho Finn spins first to make the job a little bit easier. Time will tell. So Josh just behind the Haas, I should say, of Iran F1, who's in a very solid P8 moment, but he'll be wanting to get past that Mercedes ACE sooner rather than later. But let's focus now on the battle for the lead, because we are in the kill zone, the proverbial kill zone, because here comes Free Gloves. He's going to try and make a move on Mr. Grumpy. Mr. Grumpy covers the inside with the straight line speed. He's definitely running a little bit less wing than the Ferrari, that is for sure. But look at that, good late braking from Mr. Grumpy, superb defending. It's going to try and come back in through the centre S's. Don't want to cut that. Mr. Grumpy would not have got wanting that. And then actually the Red Bull of AMS is in the pit lane, so an early lap 10 pit stop. I wonder if that's any wing damage for AMS. Well, no, that seemed like a pretty routine pit stop. So we'll go straight back up. So a very early pit stop then for AMS. What's he gone on to then? He's gone on to the medium tyres. That's a fairly early pit stop. I mean, they will go from here, so maybe he's just trying to get an advantage of the undercut. But here we go then, Hulkenberg and Juho Finn battling away. Hulkenberger, both Mercedes power units, of course. I mean, in real life, the 2020 cars look very similar, don't they? But here comes Hulkenberger. Can Hulkenberger get a move done here for P17? Juho Finn defending that pretty well. Runs a little wide though, goes right off the track, all four wheels, and now Hulkenberger should have. They still go side by side. They carry on, and it looks like Free Gloves has actually re-overtaken. So we're going to go straight back to that, because here comes Free Gloves once again. I don't know if Free Gloves made a mistake in Sector 2. This Grumpy covering the inside once again. Although, no, actually, I don't think actually Free Gloves ever got past Mr. Grumpy that previous lap, so my apologies. But he may do this time. He's trying to get around outside Mr. Grumpy, will squeeze him off, and he does. That's textbook defending there. Free Gloves will just have to keep a cool head, because whenever that happens, it doesn't matter who you are, you can get quite frustrated. Can get the move done. And here comes Frying Pro then, down the inside of Powdy up to P11, and now he will give chase to the Toro Rosso of Maxi Lewis to try and get into points, because QPRB is now running a P9 with AMS as pit stop. And the top four, as tight as you like, the clear class of the field at the moment. Jolly Alamanu 4.6 seconds behind. And well done. This is the 11th lap on these softs starting the race. Well, no sign of rain at the moment. It started dark skies, but it's brightening up if anything, so it looks like it could be a dry race here. So here comes Free Gloves. He's going to try and make a move down here. Mr. Grumpy will cover the inside once again. And now look at that, Greeny FC. Oh look, this time Mr. Grumpy couldn't cover the inside, so Free Gloves will have the inside this time, and he will take the lead here at Interlagos of round 5 Formula Experience. Can Mr. Grumpy come back at him? The Ferrari power unit kicks in. This is where, oh look at that, Free Gloves making a late move, but it was, I think, a fair move in my opinion. Helicopter view then, Mr. Grumpy using the power, you go around the outside, and yes, the power of that Ferrari was able to get ahead of the Red Bull, but the Red Bull will come back at him in Sector 2. Now where is Greeny going to come out in? He's going to come out just behind Cablo actually, so he's going to come out in a little bit of traffic, and that's going to probably frustrate him. He probably wanted to come out in the gap between Powdy and Cablo, so in fact Cablo's ahead of him. It'll probably be a little bit of an annoyance to him. But he'll on the fresher tyres, he should be able to clear that Ferrari fairly quickly, and that DRS might actually aid him on the undercut. Now, will any of the top three decide to pit here? That's going to be the interesting thing. We're on lap 12 here. We're 1/3 distance through this race, and it's anyone's guess at this point who's going to win it. And it looks like it's a four-way fight for the battle, and AMS has actually ended up behind Ugi Azim, so he's in traffic as well. So that's bad news for him. Here comes once again. As Big C pits as well, so Mr. Grumpy and Free Gloves carry on the fight. So the Alfa Romeos are attempting to get a double undercut here, that is for sure. It looks like Greeny is about to overtake Cablo and get ahead of him fairly comfortably, and yes he does. So that is a move done for now. Where is Greeny going to come out? Has that traffic hurt him at all? Big C coming out now. I think Greeny will get ahead of him quite comfortably. Yes he does, in fact by quite a bit. It's probably ekes out an extra second. And watch out for that McLaren. Can that McLaren out-drag the Alfa Romeo on the straight? Because if it does, that would be bad news. And there's been a spinner, and that is Game Freaker. Game Freaker's had an incident in the final sector. So both Renaults having a few issues. And meanwhile, Big C. Oh, Big C! Big C's had an off. Big C's gone off. And Ugazim's gone off as well. There's been a big contact there of something. Oh dear, Big C having to wait. Oh dear, that's a disaster. Well, something's happened to Big C. It says still pit. Well, that's bizarre. Is that a glitch of some kind? I'm not sure what's happened there. So Mr. Grumpy then pits from the battle for the lead. And well, he just smashed into the pit limits thing for some reason. Pits then. As does Irina. I'm really not sure what happened there between Big C and Ugi Azim, but that's one of the Alfa Romeos out, so that's one of the potential podium positions now out of action. Now where's Greeny NFC? Because Greeny NFC got the undercut. Is that going to work for him against the Ferrari? It's going to be, oh, it's going to be mighty close. I tell you what, I think Greeny FC is going to just get this. Here comes Mr. Grumpy coming out the pit lane now, and yes, Greeny FC has done it. He's got the undercut of those 2 extra laps. He is now ahead of the Ferrari. Oh, that's going to make things really interesting when Free Gloves comes in, because these two are going to both get the undercut on that Red Bull, so the Red Bull could be right among the middle of this, and they've got traffic ahead. Like I said, Maxi Luca flying from QBL Beast, they won't be pitting yet, so this traffic could be very key for these races. In terms of how they're going to all line up later on, so you would suspect Free Gloves is going to have, is he going to carry on? Surely he's going to respond now and pit. No, he carries on. Interestingly, he's doing a longer stint. So he's going to have fresher tyres at the end, that is for sure. So I think he will come in at the end of this lap, put on the mediums. So we'll have a significant advantage tyre wear wise at the end of this race. So AMS now right on the back of the McLaren of Blue Mosquito, last week's race winner. Very intriguing race. So Big C, the only retirement so far. Still got yellows in sector 3, but here comes AMS. Cablo gets a 5-second time penalty, not for the first time this season, unfortunately, for speeding in the pit lane. Probably won't thank Mr. Grumpy for taking out the board for limit. I'm sure that was an accident. But nonetheless, it doesn't help anybody trying to slow down, especially if they don't have line on. And there's yellows in sector 1 and 2 again. But no indication what's actually happening. So I think maybe it's one of the retired cars just still being cleared. But Big C's disqualified car, of course. Any indication going Ugi Azim then trying to dive down the inside of Mr. Powdy, and Hulkenberg gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so that's not good news for him. And now here we go then, Greeny, the net race leader at the moment, but they're in traffic, so they might lose that undercut advantage. So the Red Bull of Free Gloves is in the pit, so here Greeny then going to try and clear that traffic as quickly as possible. Oh my goodness, trying to get past over, but here comes Mr. Grumpy. Can he get past Maxi Luca? Maxi Luca covers the inside. Maybe didn't see the Ferrari coming. Ferrari's got the fast lap. Where is the Red Bull? The Red Bull's coming out now. I think Green FC. Oh, it's going to be so close. It's going to be so close when they come out. Here comes Free Gloves. He's going to be right in the middle of them. He's going to be right alongside Mr. Grumpy. No, he's been overtaken by Mr. Grumpy. So Free Gloves is now in the net P3, flying from just ahead of these guys. HD's just overtaken Blue Mosquito to move up to P9. Wow, this is a fast and furious scrap, and this has such important ramifications for the rest of the race, getting these moves done now. In fact, you know, Greeny can get ahead of Flying Foam and try and box in that Renault between himself and the Ferrari. That could be so key. But this is effectively the 3 who are fighting for the win now, because with Big C's retired, oh, it looks like Hulkenberg has retired from the race, so that's the end of his race. I think he's called it a day in the pit lane, so bad luck for Hulkenberg, the British race winner of all the experience this season. So here comes Greeny then. Look at these cars hurtling down towards the end of the lap. Can Grumpy follow past Flying Foam? Flying Foam's not going to get in the way of these guys, but he has boxed in the Red Bull somewhat. I'm sure he'll get ahead of him shortly. Mr. Grumpy now attempting to catch the Alfa Romeo. Will he make a move to the inside at the end of the Reto Posta? had a think about it. Free Gloves still behind the Renault. This is really fast and furious stuff. This is great to see. And meanwhile, Cablo attacking Duofin and overtaking him. But we'll go straight back to the fight for Leo. It looked like Cablo's about to massively cut the center S's there. And yeah, he's giving the place back. Yeah, can't be doing that. Would have got a warning for that. So Greeny FC, there's only one car up ahead. PBR Beast would love a safety car right now. It'd be perfect timing for him. Be able to come in and get some fresh. Well, actually, it's a little bit too early for the softs. Maybe a few more laps from now. But some say the softs can go a little bit further than this, but ideally you want to be about lap, 19, 20 to pit for the softs when you're starting the mediums. So here comes Greeny LFC. Will PBR Beast fight it? Well, it's not really worth it for his race because he'll just lose time himself. So Greeny then gets ahead of him. So now can Greeny try and break away from that Ferrari? But I think the Ferrari will make absolute mincemeat of that Williams. It may be a rocket in the straights, but it certainly couldn't be described as such in any other terms. And the Williams easily gets demoted to P3. Although PBR Beast having a cheeky look back at the Ferrari. It wasn't a particularly good exit from Mr. Grumpy just then. And now Free Gloves is now going to be stuck behind that. Is he going to try and make a lunge with Ferragulo? No, he's going to have to follow it for a few more corners. Oh my goodness, he is being absolutely... His race could be being wrecked a little bit here. Because he's almost a second now behind. He's got to try and clear that Williams straight away. If he loses any more time, he'll be out of DRS of that Ferrari. My goodness, that Williams is so poor on traction, getting onto the power again. And look, he's over a second behind now. Does the Williams have DRS? Yes, it does. So actually, he may have just timed it just right, because any more time loss, he would have been well over a second. The detection zone for DRS is through the second part of the center S, incidentally. See that white line? No, in fact, he's 1.2 seconds behind, so in fact, he is out of range. What about Mr. Grumpy? Is Mr. Grumpy going to think about a move down the inside? Yes, he is. Oh, he had a look. We're getting there. With them battling, that will give Free Gloves a chance to get back up to them. So in terms of those who have pitted, still a few drivers left to pit. That's PBR Beast, Flying Frame, Maxi Luca, but all the drivers behind them have pitted. Blue Skeeter, Oogie Team, Geofin have not. They'll be all pitting for the softs. I think PBR Beast has had a pretty decent first stint so far. They're still, I think, in the hunt for a championship point. Every point at this stage really important. But your main fight for the lead is certainly on lap 19 between Greeny LFC, Mr. Grumpy and Free Gloves in three very different cars. Two different engine suppliers, the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari, of course, same power unit. Mr. Grumpy, if anything, getting a pretty poor exit out of Yunkao. And now he's going to be under a threat, possibly, from Free Gloves, instead of trying to get ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Maybe getting into the dirty out the Alfa Romeo just a little bit. And Flying Frame then is overtaking PBR Beast and demoted to P5. So what about Free Gloves? These top three having a titanic scrap then. Perhaps Big C can fill us in what happened, because we didn't quite catch that. He's been talking to Rachel in the paddock. We will hear some more words from him, perhaps in the live chat as well. Look at that, Mr. Grumpy trying to go round the outside of Ferragulo. If he can get this move done, it'd be an absolutely sensational move, but it's very difficult to get a move done there. And if anything, it's just going to slow him down. But this has all allowed Free Gloves to smash that 1.5 second gap he briefly had to these two. He's now right back in the fight here. Maxi Luca now closing on the Williams of PBR Beast, who may see some battling there. Those three drivers, incidentally, have not pitted yet. AMS, Jordan Amanu, HD, Josh and Aaron have pitted. Blue Mosquito has not. And here we go then. Grumpy not getting a good exit of Yunkao, and he's struggling to get the acceleration, but he's got DRS now, so he may get the speed back. Will Free Gloves think about a move to the inside? No, he will not. Doesn't quite have the gap there. I'm under heavy impression that oh, Mr. Grumpy picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh dear. Very easy to do in that center essence. That's the most common location to get a time penalty here. And it looks like PBR Beast and Max Zuka have both pitted actually. But with the Williams being at the end of the pit lane, he should have a huge advantage getting out first, and indeed he does. But look at that, Powdy might get past both of them. So they're on the softs. So Blue Mosquito will pit. So that fight for the final championship point between Pauli and QPR Beast, that could be a very interesting watch. In fact, I'm going to go to that because that could have ramifications for the championship. Look how close these two are. But Pauli, he had to try and get ahead of him if he could, but he wasn't quite close enough. And that means now QPR Beast will be able to get ahead of him, get away from him rather, on the soft rubber. Lap 21 here of round 5 of PSGL Formula Experience, and we have one more race to go at Japan next week, and it looks like mathematically the championship can't be settled here. It was always going to be highly unlikely given the tightness of the field and the way the performance allocations work. So we are going to get a championship decider as it stands at Japan next week, which should be a real thriller. So I hope you can be there for that. And Three Gloves now picks up a time penalty. Advantage Greeny. Now that is very interesting. I wonder if these three battling, will this bring AMS into play? He's 5.5 by him because don't forget that time penalty. But he's been on those mediums a lot longer than the drivers ahead, and that's going to have an effect later. They do keep their freshness for a fair while, but I think AMS will be at a distinct disadvantage. And if anything, Jordan Amanu is coming out towards him. Now Flying Throne's coming out of the pit lane. Let's just have a look at QPR Beast. Is QPR Beast close enough for an attack? Not quite close enough. Agonizingly close. Although I could be wrong, QPR Beast has got 1 point at the moment. Can you think about a move here? Every point so vital at this point. And there's not much racing left to go in terms of the championship as a whole. And if anything, Greeny is actually beginning to get away from Mr. Grumpy. One of Mr. Grumpy suffered a bit of a morale hit from that time penalty because he probably knows that at least one of the drivers he's fighting won't get any penalties. And Greeny looking good for a win that would put him right back into the championship. Because as it stands, only one of the top two is scoring a point. And Blue Mosquito is not scoring any points. Big C obviously had that disconnection, transmission failure. So, you know, a win here really puts you back into the championship fight. HG fighting off Josh and Aaron at the moment. That's going to be a nice scrap to look at shortly. As is, you know, Frome versus Beast and Maxi Luca. So there's a few nice battles going on. So I'm going to try not to focus purely on the top three, because I think we will see some good racing. Ugiazine pits from a very lowly P17. So he might have a nice nostalgic fight with Jamie to keep themselves entertained for the final few laps. So that'll be all right. So Greeny then, keeping himself ahead. He's getting superb traction out of Yunkao every time. That's what Grumpy is struggling with. And I'm getting word that Mr. Grumpy might have wing damage. We will confirm that shortly. Let's have a look at the onboard. Well, let's see. Oh, yes. Well spotted. Yes, the M play on the left side is missing. That explains a lot. So Mr. Grumpy is actually doing really well to keep in this fight, but that may explain the time penalty. Now, I tell you what, I do vaguely remember when he came out the pit lane, I think when he came out the pit lane, I think he may have hit one of the walls on the exit or something like that. So I think he may have damaged his wing exiting the pit lane, because he didn't have wing damage before he pitted. I know that. So, and I remember, someone might have to look back at the moment when Grumpy left the pit. I think I saw him like touching the wall slightly. I might be incorrect on that. It might have happened somewhere else, but I think that may have been where it happened. And of course, he could have hit the back of Mr. Greeny, I should say. And that's entirely plausible as well, though we didn't see that happening. They were close a few laps ago. But, you know, Three Gloves, you may not be aware of the wing damage. But, you know, that Ferrari still, a wounded prancing horse it may be, it still has a bit of a kick to it. So Three Gloves will be treating it warily. He does not want to. And look at that. Really feeling the need to defend, because that power unit is still going to give him a huge advantage on the straight line speed. But as the tyre wear increases, as the performance of those, eventually Mr. Grumpy will run out of grip aerodynamically. So at the moment, while they're fresh, he can still kind of play in the fight. But once those tyres get a little bit older towards the end of the race, he'll have nothing really to defend with, and he will start losing time. It's inevitable, unfortunately. But you know, he is well ahead of AMS, so he has still got a really good chance for a podium. So P3 would still not be a bad result for him. Now I'm wondering if AMS has damage as well, you know, because he's not able to get away from Julian Amanu, and he's in a Red Bull. And the Haas, as we all know, is not a particularly good car at tracks like this. And here comes Free Gloves then. Can he go for a move down the inside? He doesn't want to tag back. Oh my goodness. And Game Freak has retired. Game Freak, a safety car! Oh, it's a safety car! Oh, he's lost it out the exit of the Senna S's, the Renault driver. Yeah, look at his car. He's absolutely obliterated the front end of that car. But it is a safety car here, ladies and gentlemen, right at the death. And that, well, it may not change everything for Grumpy because he will have to pit for a wing, but he will still be able to, he should be able to come out ahead of AMS. But has anyone else pitted first? Yeah, it looks like Iran and Josh and Powdy have all pitted. Are they going to put new boots of softs on? That's got to be it. So that's the third retirement of the race. Well, that's really made things interesting. Of course, those who had 5-second penalties, they'll serve them now as well, so they'll eliminate that from the reckoning. And what is that? Oh, that's a safety car. I was wondering what that spot was at the bottom. Yeah, safety car waiting to pick up the field. Now, will these guys pit? I mean, you would imagine they would. Would any of them gamble to stay out? Because, you know, AMS or Jody Alamanu. No, Flying Throne's not, I don't think Flying Throne, PRBs and Max Luke are close enough to take advantage of anyone pitting. But let's see, what will Greeny do? It's a real tactical decision now. Greeny pits. Mr. Grumpy pits. And Free Glove stays out. Free Glove stays out. Intrigue. Tactically. What are we going to see here? Is this a mistake? Juliana Manu has carried on as well. Fresh softs for Greeny FC. And don't forget the time penalty. We will check the time penalties shortly. I want to see what the story is with that. Will that be a mistake from the Red Bull driver? We shall see. Oh, Flying Throne. Flying Throne's actually going to get... Oh, I tell you what. Flying Throne's actually going to come out. Yeah, look, all three of them. QPR beasts up to P5. So that shows how much time Mr. Grumpy lost replacing that wing. So he's got some overtaking to do. So the field will start to be gathered up. But yeah, I think Free Gloves has made a bit of a mistake here. Particularly as he has the time penalties. So Greeny LFC, he will be absolutely licking his lips here because I don't believe he's got time penalties. But let's settle that debate. Let's have a look and see what the penalty situation is. We know that Free Gloves has one. Joliana Manu has none. What about Greeny? Greeny has 2 warnings though, so he's not far off. And wow, Flying Throne has no time penalties. My goodness, is lockdown over? Maxi Luca then, he has no time penalties. AMS has a penalty, 6 seconds of penalties. Oh bloody hell, 9 seconds of penalties AMS, so he's well out of the reckoning. 1 penalty for HDE. Penalties at this stage, they're so costly when a safety car restarts because you just don't have the laps to maintain because it's such a short lap here. They fly by. At this stage, in terms of the fuel, it's going to be, you know, not far off quality times once they get up to speed, especially on these fresh softs and low fuel. Now, I wonder if the safety car would. I mean, for the guys who have pitted again, you know, such as Jamie and Cablo, who were kind of off the pace earlier, they'll be really hoping this safety car stays in another lap. And oh, a 5-second penalty for HDE for a severe collision with Scrumpy. Oh, don't tell me Scrumpy's just damaged his wing again. Let's have a look. Yes, he has. Oh dear. Well, I think in terms of his PSN name, I think he will be very much grumpy about the situation right now. I mean, will he have to pit again? I mean, if the safety car doesn't come in this lap, it's probably worth going in the pits again. I mean, yeah, he'll be at the back, but he's got a few laps to make up some positions. It looks like Mr. Grumpy hit the back of HDE, but then for some reason HDE got the time penalty for the collision. Nope, safety car in this lap. So Mr. Grumpy is, yeah, he's pretty messed up. But let's focus on the restart. Mr. Grumpy is out of the reckoning for the race win now, 100%. There is no way, unless there's another safety car. But here we go then. Free Gloves will control the pack. But what an opportunity for Greeny LFC. Fresh softs against two drivers up ahead who have medium tyres. It's not going to be easy though. DRS trains and all, but here comes QBR Beast trying to make a move. QBR Beast, he's got a glorious opportunity to make it. Oh, whoa, look at that. Maxi Luca sneaking in through the middle. And here comes AMS as well. QBR Beast getting absolutely mugged in the center S's there, losing 2 positions. And now we'll go back to Greeny FC. Can Greeny FC make any impression on the top 2? Not for the time being. So it's a fast and furious restart here. Lap 29 here at Interlagos. Maxi Luca picks up a 3-second time penalty. Now here we go then. Greeny LFC. He's got no time penalties at the moment. So if he can overtake Julian Amanu and not get any more time penalties, he's guaranteed the win, because Free Gloves, as we know, has a 3-second time penalty. This is the best opportunity that Greeny's going to have to win a race this season, without doubt, because it's likely he'll get, you know, a slower allocation for the season finale in Japan next week. Although that's more a logical viewpoint, that may not actually happen. So Jamie was not able to catch up to the back of the field. That's really unfortunate for him. But here comes Greeny LFC. The focus really is on him. He's got all the advantages in the world, so he's got to get the job done. Free Gloves is already well ahead, and here comes Greeny LFC. He will get a simple overtake done. Duo Finn has spun out Jung Hao again. Greeny and Grumpy into the pit lane to get his wing replaced, out of the points. Very disappointing given how his qualifying went. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. So Jolly Amanu in 3rd, and just behind him actually is Flying Throne, who's having a nice little look at the moment. And oh sorry, it's Caplu going back into the pit. So Mr. Grumpy's decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick out here and see what happens. Fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. As Flying Throne continues to chase down Julian Amanu. The battle for the podium is going to be absolutely ferocious. It's a battle for the lead is between 2 drivers, without a doubt. Free Gloves and Greeny LFC. But maybe the Red Bull will be enough to keep it ahead on track without DRS. But there are so many drivers, they'll be chomping at the bit of getting that podium. But don't forget, QBRB has done 9 laps on those. HDE's basically off the track. And now QBRB is going to try and get back at him, and yeah, gets back at him. But let's have a look immediately at Flying Throne. Oh my goodness, do I stick with this? Side by side, HDE looks like he's got damage as well. So maybe they both make on. Maybe it wasn't a rear collision that HDE had. Down the inside goes QBRB, ahead of HDE, up to P8. Excellent move there. It's a good Flying Throne. And yeah, warm welcome to everyone in the chat. Obviously not the sort of vintage audience numbers you get for Show F1, but it's always appreciated to see anyone in here. So welcome to CC Brain, Tom, David and Callum and Woot. If I said that wrong, I do apologise. Iran assists overtaking HDE. HDE is dropping like a stone down the field. A miserable afternoon for the 2 Mercedes allocation drivers. And look at this, Greeny LFC has reeled in half a second this lap. He is now within DRS range of Free Gloves. It's going to be a big battle now for the lead of this race, and a huge battle for the podium. Look at this train. It's a 5-way fight for the podium. Despite the wing damage, Mr. Grumpy is still in the fight for a podium here, although he does have 6-second time penalties. So you would probably argue he's out of it. So can Flying Throne get ahead? Now Free Gloves had a really good sector 2, and that allowed him to get further ahead of Greeny. DRS, but look at that, fastest lap. Greeny is coming at him at a rate of knots. Iran then trying to make a move on QBRBs. Can he go around the outside? Oh, really good racecraft from both. And look at that, Mr. Grumpy's actually just overtaken AMS despite the damaged wing. Mr. Grumpy goes pretty wide though out of the center S's. He may come back at him. And now Flying Throne attempting to get into the fight for the podium now. Julian Amanu denies him. Firm slam of the door in his face. Out of turn 4 and 5, and now it's been an incident. Oh, there's been an incident. What's happened here? QBR Beast has headed off. It looks like Powdy's headed off as well. No, Powdy has actually gone up to 8th position. And up ahead, AMS and Mr. Grumpy continuing their fierce battle. It's all happening in the closing laps. It's going to be difficult to keep an eye on them. So QPR Beast has slipped out of the points. And Powdy, his closest rival, is in the points. And he would close right onto the back of QPR Beast. And as it stands, Powdy's getting 3 points. So it would be a 1 point gap in the championship. Oh, it's a VSC. Virtual safety car now. For goodness sake, what is going on here? So they're going to have to slow down, but it's not a full safety car, so there's no advantage in pitting, and DRS is enabled again. We are racing once more. Greeny just needs to not get a time penalty. I think that's basically what it is. Mr. Grumpy into the pit lane. So that will allow QPRB to get back into the points, but Powdy gains another point, so that's now 4 points Powdy's getting in the battle for the championship. Let's have a look at Flying Throne. Flying Throne's been trying to get ahead of Joliana Manu. He's had a pretty solid outing in this Renault today. No time penalties, and here we go, around the outside. Joliana Manu will try and squeeze him off again, and he does squeeze him off again. But Flying Throne's going to fight hard for this position. He's not going to be bullied by the Haas ahead. And now he's going to try and go around the outside of Ferragudo. That is an audacious move. He's going to go late on the brakes. He'll have the inside for the following section of corner, but Joliana Manu positions his car beautifully, I have to say, to deny that opportunity. Could not afford to let Flying Throne get onto the side-by-side in there, because then he would have had an opportunity to overtake. This all allows Maxi Luca and AMS to stay in the fight here for the positions. Caplo's on the back of Jamie now. And you never know, some of these drivers have a chance of a point now. 1.2 seconds the gap between Free Gloves and Greeny. So the Red Bull is kind of edging away, but Greeny, so once doesn't get a time penalty, is in range for the win. Here comes, it is Red Bull versus Junior Team. And I think the Red Bull is going to win, but we'll keep an eye on this because there's 2 battles going to say. Look at Flying Throne, going for a move around the outside of Joliana Manu. The defenders have the advantage for the time being. Positions maintained. And oh, bit of ghosting there. Not sure if that was a little bit of lag. Oh, contact. They gotta unlock themselves, otherwise it's gonna be a horrible incident. Flying Throne up ahead, trying to get a move on Joliana Manu once again. He's going around the side. This time he's there, but again, good traction for Joliana Manu on the power to maintain the position. And this is absolutely frantic stuff here. Flying Throne has about 2.5 laps to go. So it looks like Free Gloves is going to win the race on track. But I still haven't seen another penalty, a time penalty for Greeny at all. But he was on 2 warnings, so he's so tantalising close. QPRB still ahead of Ugi Azim. He's done 13 laps on those softs, so he might get overtaken later on. And it's a 5-second time penalty for AMS for cutting a corner and gaining a place. Well, that is a hugely costly penalty at this stage of racing. That may give QPRB a chance to still get into the points. Here comes Flying Throne. This looks like a nailed-on opportunity. Greeny sets a fast lap. An ultimate lap here into Lagos. Here comes Flying Throne. Flying over the start-finish line, and this time, can he get it slowed down? Where is Joliana Manu? They're going to go side by side. He'll have the inside for the second part of the Celeresses, and he gets ahead at last. Flying Throne up into third. He's now got to defend for his life because Joliana Manu, you know he's going to come back. Super strong. Let's try and retake the position. Flying Throne goes late on the brakes, though. Those mediums are now 22 laps old. Flying Throne's got fresher softs. And it looks like, oh, Powdy's gone off. Powdy's had an incident. Another twist in the title race. Powdy now down to P14. Had a collision somewhere, or lost it out of the center S's. That puts Creepy Beast back up to 8th. So here we go then. Joliana Manu still on 4th. Let's have a look then at Greeny. Can Greeny get anywhere near that Red Bull in the final lap? And look at that. Disappearing off the distance. It's amazing how strong that Red Bull is on those older mediums. Yeah, Powdy down to 14th. And that's so heartbreaking for his championship chances. Let's have a look at AMS then. AMS is going to try to get ahead of Johnny Emma, but that penalty is probably going to may send AMS out of the top 10. We shall see shortly. But yeah, so many penalties. These center S is deadly. You have to take them at such high speed. You've got to judge it perfectly. It's so easy to get warnings here. Final lap here then at Interlagos. It is Free Gloves, Zito Greeny. And then further back behind, quite a big gap. Maxi Luca, any other movements going on? Oh my goodness, poor exit. John Emmanuel, those mediums finished. Could well almost be. Side by side they go. AMS going to try and wing it round the outside. Where is AMS? AMS is still there, but not able to get ahead for the time being. We have to go check the battle for the lead shortly. We'll carry on with this for a few more corners at least. And now They carry on to the second part of Sector 2. Let's have a look then at Free Gloves. Free Gloves then heading for the line. It's going to be a win here. But will it be a full win? It's going to be denied by the time penalty. Cross the line, Free Gloves go. Greeny FC cross the line, and it's Greeny who wins here at Brazil. An absolutely magnificent display. And oh, there's been an incident behind. AMS and Joliano Manure out. Oh, they've both had contact on the final corner. Oh, for goodness sake. You always have to leave at the space, and they didn't. And QBR Beast gains 4 points in the championship battle. What a huge moment in the championship. And I can't believe what happened there. 2 drivers retiring. But it's Greeny LFC. He deserves his moment. What a crazy end to that race. Flying Throne on the podium. Magnificent display from him. But, well, there's going to be Jolianamu's reign as champion. Ends with a literal bang into the barriers. Officially, his reign is over at the end of next week, but he will not defend his championship mathematically now. But Greeny LFC, he is very much in the fight after this victory here today. Updated standings will be posted on the PSGL and PSGL FE Twitter in the coming days. But, I mean, it's insanity. With the penalty situation, I believe even Duo Finn, with all his spins finished in the points, pick up his first points of the season. We'll confirm the provisional results once the podium says. But yeah, I mean, those top 3, they all deserve their podium for sure. I think they were, I mean, obviously in terms of result, but I think they were the 3 most consistent drivers. They didn't really make many mistakes. The Greeny FC takes the race win here from Free Gloves by virtue of time penalty. Flying Throne with a superb 3rd position. Max Luca in a very good 4th for the reserves. Uki Azim in 5th. Iran in 6th. We'll be delighted with that. Duo Finn. Well, let's give him mad props. P20 to P7. Brilliant stuff. QBR Beast, though, arguably driver of the day. A P8 in the Williams. Vital points for the championship. Jamie in P9. Amazing considering what happened on lap 1. Blue Mosquito picking up the final point. In P10, Cablo and Mr. Grumpy. Well, just huge scenes. But yeah, 5 drivers retiring in the end. And well, AMS had so many time penalties, he finished P16. That's so damaging when you have the time penalty situation. But wow. Well, I tell you what, that was highly entertaining indeed. So some brief thoughts on that. Well, big congratulations to Juho for getting his first points of the season. I mean, he survived all the carnage, and sometimes that's all you have to do. Just finish, don't get too many time penalties, and you can get your reward. But I have to say, Greeny LFC, he was up against for most of those races 2 cars that have superiority, the Ferrari and the Red Bull, and he never looked outshined on pace by either one of them. And he's our 5th different race winner of the season, and that just shows you what a really entertaining championship this has been so far. And who knows, we may get a 6th to complete the set next week at Japan, and that is a race which I think you'll agree everyone will look forward to, because it will be a championship decider between multiple drivers. And Japan, a track where traditionally in F1 we've seen many title deciders over the years. So we will see you next week at 8 o'clock sharp. So don't forget to tune in to the PSGL Esports Championship tomorrow for their particular round 5. I think it's round 5. Oh no, actually I think it might be the rerun of the round that was cancelled last, unless they're not rerunning that one. I'd have to check that. And then of course we've got Race of Champions in a few weeks time. But to those of you for the few of you who joined, I hope you enjoyed that action. I mean, I thought overall that race had a little bit of everything. It was almost like the real 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix. It had a bit of everything, a late safety car, some really good overtaking action, and then a bit of chaos at the end. And that's what you want from a motor race. So thanks for watching, everybody. And this is me signing off. See you all next week for some